Welcome to Prime Life. We call it Retirement 2.0. Leave each episode with tips and new ideas to help you navigate retirement in our new age. It's your time. Make it count.
This podcast is for educational purposes only. It is not intended as medical, investment, or financial advice. We do not sponsor or endorse any of the individuals, companies, products, or services featured on this podcast. Any statements or opinions expressed are of the individual who makes them. We hope you enjoy the episode.
Good morning and welcome to another episode of the Prime Life podcast. We're excited to be here today. Joseph, hello.
Hello, Laura. It's good to be here. Excited for our conversation.
Absolutely. Mary, hi.
Hello. Very inspired and excited to be here, as I agree with Joseph and Laura. What's next?
Well, we're looking at jumping into a really interesting conversation today. I feel as though today's conversation is going to group together previous guests, previous conversations we've had, but there's going to be a different theme or cadence to it. So I'm excited to have this conversation kick off and get started. And Mary, if you could introduce our guest, that would be wonderful.
I would love to. Thank you, Laura. Today, our guest is Tony Copeland Parker. A little bit about him, and he's going to share the rest. After 37 years in the aviation, the last 27 years at UPS as a pilot manager, he retired in 2015. He and his partner sold their home and became nomads, and they ran all over the world. He's also the author of Running All Over the World, Our Race Against Early Onset Alzheimer's. Tony's been published in the New York Times as well, done tremendous things, is doing tremendous things. So Tony, welcome to Prime Life Podcast, and we'd love to hear a little bit about you and your journey.
I am so
Please
glad to be
share.
here. I'm glad we were able to make this connection and to tell you a little bit about myself and our journey. It started back in 2012. As you mentioned, I was a commercial pilot with United Parcel Service. I was getting my semi-annual physical, and my doctor told me that I had a heart murmur. That meant that my aortic valve was not closing properly. So we monitored that. I was able to continue flying, and we fast forward to 2013, and I started to notice that my partner of 24 years was having some difficulties with her memory. She was also working for the government, so she had a very taxing job, and we tried to figure out exactly what was going on. So we started going to a neurologist, and in 2014, we had two events come together for us to make that life-changing decision for us to become nomads. And that was, number one, in April, she was diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's. And then in June, my valve got to the point where it needed to be replaced, so I had open heart surgery. So with those two facts, and looking at the fact that I was having a great career at United Parcel Service, she was having a great career at the government, we needed to make some changes. So we decided to retire. I was able to get her a severance package and also put her on disability, and then also went to Social Security and got her on disability with that. I made a decision to retire from United Parcel Service, so we packed up our home, sold it, and we started doing what we love to do, which was, number one, we love to travel, obviously as a pilot, and number two, we love to run marathons and half marathons. So we set out to find as many races as we could during the period of time, because at that point, I did not know the survivability of how long she would be around after the diagnosis of early onset Alzheimer's. So we put some races together. Basically, we were trying to find a home, but every time we would pack up our bag every 3 to 4 days, we would say, oh, we've seen everything here, let's move on to somewhere else. So it turns out that during the 8 years of us traveling and running races, we've accomplished a number of things. Number one, we visited 82 different countries. We've run a race in 35 different countries and on all 7 continents. Catherine, which is my partner of 24 years, I refer to her as Cat, and I'll tell you more about that a little bit later. But she's also run a marathon in all 50 states and has a total of 83 marathons. Unfortunately, in April, she lost her ability to run. And so I have what I known as the Catmobile, which is a adult-sized stroller. And she walks what she can, and then I push her the rest of the way so that we can continue racing basically in the United States now.
That's amazing. Kudos to both of you for those accomplishments. It's absolutely amazing on so many levels. And I happen to be partial to the name Kat. So I have an identical twin, Catherine, who we call Kat. So so I'm definitely partial to this. But it's amazing. And what strikes me is, and my question to you is really about, are you using these marathons and these opportunities as a method of, engagement within a community, education around the disease? And is it a way that both of you can connect and continue to bond on these amazing adventures
Well,
and
you touched
explorations
on
that you're
all the
taking?
things that we try to do. Yes, we put them all together. We have found that seeing new and exciting things are good for folks with Alzheimer's. Staying engaged socially with individuals. So we did a lot of group travel and we're able to do that. And then also the fact that exercise is really good for folks with Alzheimer's. So we were, had an exercise routine. The only time we would take off would be on travel days. And even then, we would walk the terminal to get in our miles of walking. And then we would hit the town. We would find the race site. We would walk around, and then we would do the race. And usually, like I said, we would stay 4 to 5 days and then move on to somewhere else. So yes, all those things were put together so that we could keep her engaged as long as possible.
I love the Catmobile idea name, but I wanted to ask you about when you made the decision to become nomads. What was the plan, or was there a plan, or was it more like, okay, we're gonna go to this country and then we're gonna go to that country? I'm just curious how you went about that.
Mary mentioned, I was also a manager, so I like to put plans together and then see them being executed and then modify them as needed. And as a pilot, we do that on a regular basis. So it really started out with me looking at what was the next race after we retired, and we were going to go to Tokyo. So I was looking at the fact we were going to do the Tokyo Marathon, what's on the way to Tokyo, what's on the way back from Tokyo, what are some countries that we haven't visited, and then I would just put together a 30 to 45 day plan of what we were going to see and do during that period of time. And then we would come back. We used Atlanta, Georgia as our hub of operation. We would stay at Marriott hotels near the airport. We would rent Hertz cars. And we used, since we were in Atlanta, we used Delta as our primary carrier. So we had those three things. We would come back to Atlanta. We had a small storage unit near the airport. We would drop off our medals, our T-shirts, and then we would go back out for at least 30 to 45 days for our next adventure. And then we were just putting them, based on a race. We used several tour companies. One is Marathon Tours and Travel. They're located in the Boston area. And that was great because when we would go with them, they would take care of all the logistics of the hotel, getting us to the race site. And then usually there was 100 to 200 folks that would be with us. We would have dinners, we would have social events. So we were able to keep Catherine engaged because they have a tendency to want to withdraw from society. So I was forcing her into that situation to make sure. It was easy for Catherine because of the fact that she was known as Chatty Cathy from her family. So she was always striking up a conversation with folks. And if there was a detail that she didn't know, she would just turn to me and say, well, Tony's my brain. Ask him about the details of the trip.
So, Tony, I was smiling, of course, in listening to your story. I had a Chatty Cathy doll growing up. And I loved her. She was like, so when you said that, I was really beaming. Your story is amazing on so many levels, as Laura said earlier. What made you write the book? Like, of course, not many people do what you do, or, travel all over the globe and do marathons, with Cat in the Catmobile. But, what was that decision as to why you decided to write the book?
Yeah, several reasons.
What do you expect? What do you hope?
Number one, they say that journaling is really good for caregivers. To be able to put down your thoughts about what's taking place, keeping track of the different events that happen. So that was good for me. It was very good. I did a lot of writing when I was at UPS also. So that was a natural fit for me. Number two, I was taking the writings and then publishing them to a blog. And so that people, my friends and family, could keep track of where we were and what we did. And then I actually reversed engineered it because I listened to a lot of books on tape, Audible especially. And when I'm running or when we're traveling, I listen to a lot of books. So I said, man, it would be great to be able to listen to our stories later on when Catherine was, not able to communicate as much as she could then. So I said, well, if you're going to do that, you actually have to write a book first. So what I did was I went ahead and I took all my writings from my blog and then hired a professional editor, and we went through there. The book started out at 1,000 pages, and we were able to knock it down to about 400 pages, and it had over 1,000 pictures, and we knocked it down to about 100 pictures. So that's how that all took place. And it was very therapeutic for me to be able to write about our stories and travels. And to this day, we just came back from a trip, and we went to Montana and North Dakota. We did 2 races out there, and we did a lot of driving. We flew out to Denver and then drove. It was 1,400 miles of driving. But while we were driving, we were listening to our book, and Catherine's just sitting over there just chuckling because, of course, her name is mentioned quite a bit. So she was able to enjoy that. And I was, of course, marveled at the idea of some of the crazy things I came up with while we were out traveling.
It's such a beautiful sentiment. I mean, how amazing is it that you've done this and then you've shared it with the world in a way to inspire people and to show people that when life hands you a situation, you have a choice. And this is the choice you've made and the adventures that you are embracing. And I think that's a really powerful thing. So kudos to you for that. And let's talk about you some more. It's clear that the work that you're doing and to spread the word and for education and just getting it out there is important to you. But let's talk about how you as a caregiver maintain your identity while going through this journey. Are there things that you found that you've had to give up, or have you actually discovered more about yourself through this experience?
And we'll get that answer after a brief word from our commercial sponsors.
NASA is always working harder to be your carrier of choice. We offer insurance products that can help you meet your retirement goals, such as protecting your savings, securing lifetime income, or paying for healthcare costs. We're dedicated to providing best-in-class service and are keeping things simple, and we'll have your back. We have around 400,000 policyholders and contract holders and have been doing this for a long time, 170 years. But we remain humble enough to always try to improve. For more information, visit nfg.com. Nassau insurance products are issued by Nassau Life and Annuity Company of Hartford, Connecticut. Nassau Life Insurance Company, East Greenbush, New York, or Nassau Life Insurance Company of Kansas, Overland Park, Kansas. Subsidiaries of Nassau Financial Group. Products are not available in all areas. Policyholder counts are for all Nassau companies as of September 30th, 2022, and are subject to change.
Coverite is the first digital concierge health insurance platform focused on Medicare. Their mission is to make Medicare more transparent and accessible for America's 60 million Medicare beneficiaries. By simplifying a traditionally confusing and complex decision, Coverite delivers a simple, seamless, and hassle-free plan selection and enrollment experience. Try the Coverite platform and see for yourself why they've been referred to as the TurboTax for Medicare. Visit coverite.com/podcast.
I aspire to inspire till I expire. So my everyday life is trying to find periods and things that I can tell others that would inspire them. And the thing that was really surprising to me is the amount of joy Catherine and I were able to find while we did all this. You know, sitting down and telling somebody that, oh, I don't have a home. Oh, our home is in our cabin or in the hotel room 312 or whatever. And then to have them be interested in our story and to be able to communicate what we were doing and trying to let them know that, Alzheimer's is not a death sentence for me. It is a life lesson. And we've learned so much from it. And I try to take that and give back to others so that they can learn from it also. And the other thing is that I'm a manager at heart, and I love managing. So being able to continue to do that, we still travel. We probably every 2 weeks we're going somewhere. It might be to see a friend in Charlotte, or when we were doing this race out in Montana and North Dakota, we had a friend in Denver, and we spent a couple of days with them. So we have friends from all over the world. And whenever we drop in, there's usually somebody that we can meet up with and share our story as to what we've been doing. So being able to plan that. Also, I'm planning right now. In November, we're going to do 2 more races. We're going to get 2 more states done. I'm a goal setter. Catherine got her 50 states as marathons, so we're going back around and we're doing half marathons in all 50 states. So we're going to get 2 more done in Utah and Nevada in November, and then we'll just have 1 more state left, and that is Wisconsin. And I had that on the schedule for April of 2024, which coincides with the fact that April of 2014 was when Catherine was diagnosed 10 years ago. So that would be a fitting. And then we'll set another goal, maybe do 10Ks in all 50 states. I got 12 of them done, so who knows? We just keep going until we can't go anymore.
You're like the Energizer Bunny. I do love that aspire to inspire until you expire. That's great. Just curious, before I ask you my main question, are you still nomad?
Well, that's a good question.
Now have a place?
And I do want to talk about that for a bit, because internationally, we couldn't do the trips overseas. We did one to Scotland 2 years ago, and then about a year and a half ago, we did a trip to Costa Rica, and it's just too taxing on her to do the 8-hour over water. So we're now concentrating on the United States. But at the same time, we're needed to cut down on the amount of travel. So we needed a home base, an actual location. So what we did was about August, it was probably more like June of last year, we started looking at where we're going to settle down. And there's several options, as you know. You could do a retirement community. You could find a senior living facility. And in a senior living facility, they have 3 levels. They have independent living, they have assisted living, and then, of course, they have memory care. And for folks with Alzheimer's, that's usually where they try to move the folks into the memory care facility. So what I was doing is I was trying to find somewhere for us. Uh, Usually what happens is you live somewhere close to, one of your kids. She has a child, not a child, an adult in Bloomington with three grandkids. I had one in Cincinnati, I have one in Atlanta, and then I have one in San Diego. So we started looking around the country as to where we were going to settle down. Since Atlanta was our hub, and since we were still going to travel somewhat, we thought that would be a good idea for us to stay here in the Atlanta area. People could fly in nonstop to visit, or we could fly out nonstop to go visit. So we thought Atlanta would be a good place. Also, like I said, I have a daughter here. Now, it's trying to find a location. There are a number of corporate facilities. Brookdale is where we are, is one. Atria is another one that is well known. So we started looking for those type of facilities, and we ran across Brookdale Senior Living Facility Solutions here in Roswell, Georgia, which is about 30 miles north of downtown Atlanta. So easy access to the airport and onto the highways to get out of here. But the great thing about it is they actually have all three types of facilities here. And I was able to convince them to allow us to be in the independent section, since I do everything for her, Catherine, or I hire someone to help me. As a matter of fact, I have someone right now who is out with Catherine walking. She walks 5 to 6 miles every single day, and that's what they're there to do. 3 hours or 4 hour shift. They come in, we get her dressed up. They go outside. Is a half-mile loop around the facility. It is treed, beautiful landscaping, birds singing. The trees are changing colors right now. And then indoors, this facility is rather huge. It's 300 folks under roof, and there's actually about 2 miles of indoor corridors, which were well decorated. They have chairs, they have flowers, they have pictures on the walls. Everybody decorates their doorfront. So it's a very nice setting. So it's a perfect situation for us since she likes to stay active. They do have activities here. The only one she likes to do is put one foot in front of the other. So we do a really good job here. So yes, as of September of last year, we settled down here, and this is a perfect situation for us. And I also encourage anybody who's in a similar situation to look at something like this, to stay as independent as you can, for as long as you can.
I have two questions. They're very different. One is I wanted to know a little bit about, for just curiosity, how you get prepared for a race. Like, what does that look like? My other question, which I hope you can touch upon at some point in our interview with you, which is to talk about, I know you're a positive person. I know you're goal oriented. I believe that. But talk a little bit about the joy factor and how you maintain that joy, and how you can share with others how they can look for joy and know that.
Well, what I'm going to ask you to do is remind me of what the second question is as I delve into the first one, which is how do I prepare for a race, which is the fact that I've been running for 23 years. Catherine has been doing it for 27 years. So, and I run actually every day. March of last year, March of this year, I started out setting out to run at least a mile a day. That is my meditation period. That is my time, my me time for me to put my shoes on and go out and just think about what the day is going to hold for me and what I was able to accomplish yesterday. So in preparation, I'm always prepared to run. The only thing that I have to actually be thinking about is the different climates that we're going to be running in. For example, we were in North Dakota. We were running adjacent to a lake. It was 32 degrees and the wind was 25 miles an hour. So For us, it was a little bit challenging making sure I had the right amount of clothes. I was able to find what is known as, actually, I didn't even know existed, a heated jacket. So I put that on Catherine. She was all nice and warm with a blanket in the Catmobile, and then trying to figure out exactly when would be appropriate time for her to walk, and then for me to run with her. So what I did was it was an out and back, several out and backs for a half marathon we were trying to do. So I would have her walk about a mile, then I would put her in the Catmobile, and I would run a couple of miles, and then I would take her back out, and I was looking at that. So that's actually the hardest part, is trying to climate as to what kind of clothes we need. I'm pretty good at gauging that and getting that done. But in terms of whether it's a half marathon or a 10K or a 5K, it's you put your shoes on and you just wait for the gun and go until you get to the finish line. So that's not a problem there. Now, talking about joy, I'm always looking for opportunities of joy, because what that does is that gives me a benchmark for me to write about in terms of trying to inspire others. And it might be something real simple, and it might be a little bit more complicated, but it also gives me a storyline for me to look at. Now, I have some pictures. I take a lot of pictures. I found out that there's a thing called a Fire Stick that you can plug into your TV. It downloads from Amazon, and a picture I took today is now on the TV today. And so while we're having breakfast, we have pictures of what we just did. And Catherine looks up and she sees a picture of her all bundled up in the Catmobile, and red face from the wind and all, and she smiles. So that's my joy right there. She's a very joyful person. She loves to smile. She loves to give folks hugs. And being here, there's so many mom types, as I call them, here at the facility. And so she's always stopping and giving people hugs. And it's kind of funny because I'll see them later on and they'll tell me about, oh, Catherine gave me a big hug today. And some days she doesn't. It's kind of funny. She'll walk up with somebody and go, no, not today for you. So it's good. So yeah, we try to find those, and then I write about them, so I'm able to keep that joy going from the fact that I've written about it, and then I publish it to my blog, and then also I let folks on Facebook know that it's out there, and then they respond in kind, and that's really good because I get a lot of feedback from individuals that I know, tell me about what I'm doing and pat me on my back and let me know that I need to just keep moving forward. I hope that answered your question.
That's a wonderful. Yeah, it's a wonderful thing, and it sounds like you've surrounded yourself and Kat with a beautiful community. So as we get to the top of our conversation here, I just want to give Joseph and Mary a chance to ask any final questions or share any thoughts they have before we wrap up. So Joseph, let's hand it over to you.
Yeah, it's super interesting. You've traveled the world. Would you recommend a nomad life to people in their late 50s as they head into retirement?
Now,
and if so,
ad from
what
one
tips
of our
do you have?
sponsors. Remember when you could trust the news? Well, then check out Walter. Walter is the free, no-nonsense newsletter for grown-ups that comes to your inbox 3 times a week. From current trends, aging in place, travel, retirement, and everything in between, including a dash of pop culture trivia and throwbacks, Walter is a great way to start your mornings and to stay informed. Oh, and did we mention that it's free? Check us out at thisiswalter.com. Get smart. Get Walter.
I say that from the standpoint, even when I talk to folks that have Alzheimer's, is that start out early, because they say that routine is a cornerstone for folks with Alzheimer's. Well, the routine for Catherine is travel. She knows when the suitcase comes out and onto the bed that if she were getting ready to go somewhere and there's going to be people that she's going to see, new, exciting things to see. We always try to find a botanical garden to go to and walk around. So, it's good. A nomadic lifestyle, I do suggest, because, in the way we did it was we sold everything. So we had that money plus our savings plus our pensions to go to put together into our travel. It turns out that hotel rooms and airfare and rental cars, all those things, they do add up. But if you have those funds available to you, you're not making your mortgage payments. You're not making your insurance payments and taxes and all that. That also adds up. Your car payments, it all adds up. So you can take that money and get out there. There's a lot of websites out there about nomads, the best places to go to, what countries are more nomad friendly, people who might be on the latter stages of their job and they have the opportunity to still not actually come into the work and can go, yeah, there you go. And then, can be anywhere. You could, with the way the Zoom and internet works these days, you could be anywhere in the world and get your job done. So yes, I highly recommend it. The one tip, and I had to laugh the other day about it because I forgot it myself, which was don't always carry something around because you might need it one day. In your suitcase, just take what you absolutely positively need. And then if you don't have it, when you get there, oh, I forgot, or I needed this, just go buy it. No big deal. It's not that big deal. But in terms of carrying it around every day, because that's, a 50-pound bag, and a 50-pound bag is a 50-pound bag. So, cut it down to the things that you need and not realize that, yeah, it's great to have this T-shirt or whatever. You don't need all that, and just carry what you need. So that's my suggestion. And you'll be surprised and amazed at the number of folks that you're going to meet out there and the amount of stories that you'll be able to share. It's a great lifestyle.
I mean, my comment is that I knew this would be an inspirational podcast today, and I was really looking forward to it since you and I chatted some time ago, Tony. And so I'll ask you one, final question, which I think I asked when we met. What's your favorite place that you've traveled to? And that could be the race itself too, but because you've been all over the world.
I'm going to tell you two favorites. I'm going to tell you a short story about one of our first international trips. We went to Athens, Greece. It was around Catherine's 50th birthday. It turned out that Athens, as you know, the actual marathon distance came from Philippides running from Marathon to Athens. It turned out to be 26.2 miles. Gentleman died shortly thereafter, but that's where it started. Well, it actually started in 490 BC. So you fast forward to 2010, that's 2,500 years later, and we're in Athens, Greece, to run the 2500th running of the Athens Marathon. Every single country was represented. It was so awe-inspiring to be there, to be involved in something that started 2,500 years ago. The whole concept. Unfortunately, we were slowing down at the time, so our race times were not in the 4 hours, the 4:10s, the 4:30s. It was now getting close to more like 5 hours that we were going to get it done. And I told Kat, I said, we're going to be a 5 hour or plus marathon. She was having none of that. So she picked up the pace. There's a picture of us crossing the finish line. It was 4:59 and some change above our heads. We always cross the finish line hand in hand. We always run the whole entire race together. We train together, everything together. So we're hand in hand, we're crossing the finish line, and she's completely airborne. And it looks like I'm dragging a rag doll across the finish line. And it was so funny to see that picture. And we finished into the Coliseum. So that was one of the the most inspiring races that we ran in terms of being overseas. And then, of course, I love Amsterdam. Amsterdam is so diverse. It's a nice jumping off point. So what we would do is we would fly into Amsterdam, stay for a couple of days, get our bodies acclimated, then we would push on to wherever the race site was, whether it was Lisbon or wherever. So came to be our home. There was a really, really nice Renaissance, Marriott by Renaissance hotel that was right in the middle of everything. So we would just go to a nice little bar and sit on a stool and just watch all the people. We were big people watchers, and then have conversations with and hear all the different languages going back and forth. So that's our favorite place. I would love to go back one day.
That's awesome. And it's such a great visual, too. I love the hand in hand. So as we wrap our conversation today, my question to you is what is your why? You've shared a lot about your journey and why you share.
I'm going to try to do this without
in your
tearing
book
up.
and your adventures with
all,
Kat. But you wake up every day and you live this life.
That might be a little bit difficult.
So, Tony, what is your why?
I'm going to go all the way back to my mother. I had the privilege and honor to take care of my mother in the last 9 years of her life. And I was able to learn a lot that I probably did not even know that she was saying when I was a teenager living under her roof. A couple of things that she made sure that I understood was, what did you do for someone else today, Tony? So I would go visit her and she would always ask, what did you do for someone else today, Tony? And that, stuck with me. I was like, wow, that is a really powerful statement to think about, to make sure that you're doing something for someone else. Surprisingly enough, I first did not think I was going to adjust very well being in a senior living facility where everybody's in their 80s, 90s, and 100s. But they're a great inspiration to me to see what they've done and to see how they're still trying to make it. There was one lady that was walking the hall. She was going to be 90 soon, and she was getting in her half a mile every single day. I have a lady that's right down the hall, 102 years old. And I have plenty of opportunities to do something for someone else today, whether it's to get something off the top shelf or to get their key out of the mailbox or to, carry their packages to their doorstep. So every single day I have multiple times that I'm able to do those things, something for somebody else. So I think that's kind of what I'm built, and what my mother instilled in me is to help others and to also to inspire others. Those are the two things that drive me as much as possible.
That's amazing. Well, thank you so much for sharing everything that you have with us today. And for our listeners who want to learn more, read the book, and read your blog, what is the best way for them to find that information?
For everyone. Running with Cat, and that's CAT, just like the little, animal, .com, runningwiththatcat.com. And then once you go there, you'll be able to find a blog, you're able to read stories about us, and then also you'll be able to find a good way to purchase the book. It's also on Amazon, Books A Million, and Barnes & Noble. So it's real easy. And it's a easy read. The chapters are small. It gives you a good idea of what we did that, in those 30 days that I write about. And you could put it down and then pick it up at a later time. And who knows, maybe, you've been to some of these countries. I had one lady here tell me that, well, you didn't go to Slovenia. I was like, okay, we'll try to figure that out next time. So yeah, runningwiththat.com, go there and you can find out everything there is. And I still write to it, and I'm working on a second book, and I have a fitting ending to it, which would be Catherine and I crossing the finish line hand in hand in Milwaukee, Wisconsin in April.
That's beautiful. Well, thank you so much again, Tony, for everything. We will put all of that information in the show notes. And thanks again to our listeners for tuning in to another episode of the Prime Life Podcast. Thanks, everyone, and tune in again next week.
Remember to subscribe to the Prime Life podcast anywhere you find podcasts. You can find all of our episodes, contact information, and more on our website, primelifepodcast.com. Stay connected with us. Follow us on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok.